Um. Yeah, I think this overall is the weakest Uncharted game. Probably. No. The Vita game exists. I never played the card game. I never played the card game, but I did beat the Vita game. Yeah, the Vita game exists. That's so... Saying it's the worst of the franchise is not correct, but it's probably the worst console game in the franchise. Did you remember there's an Uncharted card game that they made? I do. I never played it, but I remember it very vividly. I forget what the fucking name of it was. But they made a digital card game for Uncharted a while ago. I think it was on the Vita only. So you probably can't actually play it anymore. But it existed. That was a webcomic. The Eyes of Avenger were a webcomic. That wasn't the actual card. That wasn't the card game. But I think out of like the mainline games in the trilogy, I think 3 is the weakest by far. It's not even close. I don't think it's even close. Fight for Fortune, that was the one. You're right. I never played it, but I remember Fight for Fortune. I remember it existing. We might play for it at some point. I'm not sure. Still not sure about that. Because that's a longer game. That's like a Last of Us style game, and that's 20 hours. That's like 10 streams. We've been doing that for 2.5 fucking months. Yeah, we did like 2.5 fucking months of that, and just that. Which is why I've always been squeamish about doing those kinds of games because of how, like, because my streaming specifically, like, if I was someone who streamed like 4 hours at a time or 8 hours at a time, I'd be more open to doing those kinds of games. But because I only do 2-hour streams, those have always been kind of like iffy. So I want to play a game that I can reliably beat in about a month. No, Daxter's not a bad game, it's just on the PSP. Jack X is actually an idea. Like, I've been toying with Jack X. Because that game is actually pretty fun. But man, I remember it was shocking how much lower how much worse this game was compared to Uncharted 2. I guess I might as well not try to sugarcoat it. Like it was shocking how much worse this game was than Uncharted 2 when this game dropped. I remember being very annoyed with this game. And a lot of, like, playing it again brought a lot of that back. I talk about this in the text thing that's gonna come up on my blog about when that drops on YouTube. The T.S. Eliot thing is so overwrought. It is the definition of pretentious. And I will stand by that. Like, people overuse the word pretentious all the time. That is actually pretentious. As in, it's a pretense to seem more thoughtful than it actually is. And that does annoy me. I think the connective tissue for this game is not as strong as it is in other games. I think Uncharted 2's story is and even 1 story is by far stronger than this game's plot. Like, the plot for this game is weak. I think Marlowe and Talbot are weak villains. I don't find them particularly compelling or, like... I don't even think they're particularly hateable. I don't have any opinions of them really at all. Like, they're just there. Marlowe seems cruel, a British lady. I've seen it a million times. I've watched TV in the 90s. I know that Brits are evil. Talbot, like... Talbot gets undermined in the scene he's introduced, and they never build him up to be a credible threat. Like, I never once look at Talbot and go, "That's a man that is a worthy rival to the Drakes and Drake and pals." Like, they never seem like. I think that is actually part of the reason, is that they're undermined in the first scene. In the very opening scene of the game, like, Drake and Sully and Cutter and Chloe outsmart and outmatch this British secret society. And they never really like become credible threats at that point. They always feel like, oh yeah, there are these British people that we outsmarted in the beginning of the game. What about them? Who cares? I don't care. And they never establish that either of these guys are actual credible threats. They're very good stage magicians who use, like, theatrics and smoke and mirrors to make people do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. But they're not credible threats. Which is kind of the problem. And when you're not, and when you don't have that, there's nothing really to hook you. Like, Lazarevich, for all you could say about him, is a credible threat when he's on the screen. Roman and Navarro, for what you can say about them, and they're not perfect, none of them are perfect villains. But they are credible threats when they're on screen. I never feel that way with Talbot. I never feel that way with Marlowe. I always feel like that they're, like, this close to just getting whacked off screen. Eddie Raja is a credible threat. Eddie Raja is a very credible threat. He even dies like a credible threat. He's just not a Nazi zombie, so he can't survive against that. Between Count Veigar and Marlowe, there's a problem with the third game in Naughty Dog trilogies and there not being a good credible threat. They did it great in Crash Bandicoot. But in Jak and Uncharted, man, they could not get a credible threat on going to save their fucking lives. Errol didn't feel like a real problem. The fucking Veigar didn't feel like a real problem. And they did it again. They did the... Thank you for bringing up Veigar. That's actually perfect. That's a perfect example where it's the same problem where... Like, in theory, Marlowe and Talbot are part of the secret society that have all this influence and all this ability to control people through fear. Woo. But just mooks. They just die. Same as anything else. Veigar at least did something, you're right. Veigar at least banished Jak to the wasteland. That is fair and valid. Man, I guess technically Marlowe and Talbot brainwashed Drake into getting him to tell us about them about Sully, and they brainwashed Cutter. But that doesn't sell them as threats. That just means, oh yeah, they're good at stage magic. They're good at hyping people up on drugs so they can use stage magic at them. It doesn't really work. And I kind of went through it in a hurry, but that final scene is bad. I wonder about that. Like, if Cutter was around, if that changes, how that would change the script. Because they had to deal with him not being able to handle the rest of the recording because he had prior obligations he couldn't get out of. Or his actor. And I wonder how that changes the script. Because, like, I could... It's really hard to say. Because part of me doesn't know. Like, I don't know. Like, that's a whole scenario that I can't... That we'll never know. We'll truly never know how that goes down. There's no universe in which we will know how that goes down. Because that never happened, unfortunately. Like, we will never have the ability to describe a universe in which Talbot's actor could get or Cutter's actor could get away from his obligations and finish the game. We will never know what that universe looks like. So that's just kind of how it has to be. I would definitely like to see that script. If it exists. If it still exists. Because, you know, video game companies and preserving documents and stuff. Not particularly good at that. But that final scene is weak. That final scene is extremely weak. We kind of talked about it in a hurry. But, like, Drake... Prove your worthiness the way Drake proved to Elizabeth that he was worthy. I got nothing to prove. That should mean that you're not doing it. That should tell me that if you have nothing to prove, you can just walk away. But then he tries to save Marlowe, and it doesn't make sense. And if he walked away, I could understand Talbot going after him. If Drake does what that scene looks like it's setting him up to do, and walk away, I see Talbot going after him in retaliation for not trying to save Marlowe. But then he does. And that makes Talbot look like a dumbass, even more than the beginning scene in the game does. It undermines that final fight completely. It's like, why is Talbot doing this? Shouldn't he know better? Shouldn't he be trying to escape right now? Oh, no, he's also doing the Mook thing where I know the building is crashing down, but I gotta kill you. Even if I don't walk out of here because I'm trying to kill you. I will never understand this thing that happens in video games where that happens all the time. And you're right, like, Square Enix lost in the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 1's source code. Konami lost Silent Hill 2. Like, game companies, like, that script, if it existed at any point, is probably gone. If it exists at all, it's an Amy Hennig storage closet somewhere in the Philippines. Just collecting dust and mold and mildew. It's probably gone. But that's Uncharted 3. Damn. What a shame. What a fucking shame this game came out in the state it was in. Wonder if we have access to the behind-the-scenes shit. like 4 a lot. I think 4 is a good game. My trepidation for playing on stream is not the game itself, it is the length of the game. But it is definitely, like, on the table as a potential option. But I do like 4 quite a bit. They do in 4 a lot of what 3 was trying to do, but in a way that's more coherent and makes more sense. Like the subplot where Elena dumped Drake because she was tired of his treasure hunting bullshit. They do a version of that in 4 that is much cleaner. That makes far more sense and does more for those two characters than anything in this game ever did. And you know me, I love my Amy Hennig. I love her works. But it would be disingenuous to say that this was better than what Druckmann made for 4. That would be disingenuous and wrong. And I think anyone who played these games could see that. I think that's pretty obvious. It's just a shame. It is a shame that, like, we have time to watch a propaganda clip from Naughty Dog. Sure. Oh, I remember this. I remember we watched this when we ended Uncharted 1. I remember we watched this. This was funny. Aw. Oh, of course.
Why this obsession?
Of course.
Go to the ends of the earth for you, Nate.
Unfortunately, you're right. Licensed music, I forgot. Oh, man. I should probably not piss off Twitch with licensed music, but man, this was good. This was good. But that was really the thing with obviously you can see it was I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 a lot. It's a very good game. This I remember the behind the scenes for Uncharted 3 cuz it does still do the propaganda stuff of previous like Uncharted 1 and 2 behind the scenes stuff. But then you start getting the things like where they talk about they had Talbot's level, the chase level, all fleshed out before putting it in the story. And like you see those artifacts. You see that here in what you didn't see with the previous 2 games. And I do wonder if having to rewrite the script to cut her out of the script had to do with why the connective tissue in this game is so wafer thin. I would, if I had more time dedicate to streaming, I would get a friend together and stream Baldur's Gate 3 co-op. I think that would be very fun. Or I would do single player as Dark Urge, because I actually think that Dark Urge is a very good way to play that game and a very cool way to play that game. And I don't think I could play it without, like, if I'm playing solo single player Baldur's Gate 3, I'm playing Dark Urge. Probably not if I'm playing co-op, because Dark Urge has big protagonist energy. But if I'm playing single player, I'm absolutely playing the Dark Urge Origin every time. I'd be surprised if Baldur's Gate 3 fix fiction doesn't already exist. But I can feel my throat getting dry. I'm starting to get thirsty. I should probably hop off. It's sad to see how, like, I didn't realize how much I disliked this game until I played it again. And that makes me sad. But hopefully the next game you play, which is sounding like Jack X, honestly, like I feel like the more I think about it, the more I'm actually down to do that. We'll probably do Jack X next week. That sounds like fun. So until then, bye, y'all. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for anyone who watches on YouTube. Uncharted 4 is stinky. It's sad, but true. Bye, y'all. See ya.